I'm Polly Warren and welcome to the Positive Perimenopause podcast. This is the place for some positive inspiration to help you through the rollercoaster ride of perimenopause. I truly believe that with the right support, knowledge and wellness tools and a large dose of inspiration, this life phase can be a truly exciting and pivotal time of life. With every episode, my mission is to support and empower you to own your menopause, because it's never too late to start taking care of the most important person. Yes, that's you. So thank you for being here and sharing your time with me. Now let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to episode 2. Thanks for coming back and joining me. And also thank you so much for all the wonderful positive feedback I got last week from the very first episode. And it was just really interesting to hear how it resonated with quite a few of you. So yeah, thank you. It's so lovely to hear the feedback. So today I am beyond excited because this conversation is with the incredible Lu from Luinland. Now, Lu is a true inspiration. She's so much fun, and this conversation will definitely have you chuckling. But at the same time, Lu's vulnerability makes her so relatable. You just can't help but love her. For those of you who don't know Lu's an Instagram influencer. She's got nearly 50,000 followers on her Instagram, which is at Luinluland. But she's so much more than that. She's a vibrator advocate. She's a menopausal mindset shifter. She just is so vibrant and lives life to the full. And her superpower really, I think, is her ability to create spaces for women to come together and to empower them to find fresh and exciting ways to get through what is midlife. I called this episode Finding Confidence in Midlife, because so many of us start to really lack confidence during perimenopause. I know I did. But it's hardly surprising, though, when you think about it. When our bodies are changing shape, our periods can become horribly heavy and unpleasant, our skin and hair start to change. Often we haven't got any energy because we're not getting enough sleep, etc., etc. There are a whole host of different symptoms and reasons why we might be lacking confidence. But Lu's a really good example of how confidence isn't something you just get. It's something you have to practice. I always think there should be a verb to confidence because it's something that we really do rather than have. And I think it's good for us to remember this. And the only way to practice confidence is to know what you want and then take steps. They can be really small steps, but to go and get it. And be prepared, and this is the important bit, to come face to face with the resistance, because it's going to feel uncomfortable, because our brain is programmed to keep us safe, to keep us doing what feels comfortable. But that's what keeps us stuck in what we've always known and how we've always been. And so in order to change, and in this case, find the confidence, we've got to practice it again and again and again and move through the discomfort until it becomes a new hardwired pathway in our brain. So you'll hear from Lu how giving up shopping as a shopaholic, how moving to America, how driving a massive vintage bus across the country, and so much more are all examples of her practicing confidence so that she can embody it in all that she does. She's just a fine example of how to grow into middle age with optimism and energy. Yet she has this incredible groundedness, and everything she does is really founded in gratitude and in truth. So I really do think you're going to enjoy this. Lu is the person to inspire you to shake your life up, step out of your comfort zone. She'll make you feel all the feels. So without further ado, I would love to welcome the amazing, formidable Lu in Luinland. Now you're living currently in Portland, Oregon, but soon actually to be returning back to the UK. But you have got the most incredible Instagram feed. It's just super colourful, vibrant, fun, and you've got an incredible following. And it just shows someone who is living life to the full and loving life. And, you know, Lou, you are an embodiment of how a 51-year-old woman can be, you know, confident, sexy, living life to the facts, and kind of almost putting two fingers up to that sort of patriarchal
Yeah.
society
Oh yeah.
and to what midlife women should be doing. So I know that this sort of midlife time for you has been quite a transformational time. I'm sure it would really be of so much benefit for others to hear, how have you got to this place where you are today? You know, how have you changed during this midlife transition?
Yeah. Oh my goodness me. I don't know, I still feel like I'm in the middle of it. You know, I talk about where I am now, but it's such a journey. I don't know, I think it probably started a bit with probably around 41. I don't know if you remember, actually. It was the kids, I was living in Brighton, and Oscar was at school. I started the non-shopping project. I was a terrible shopaholic for years. Well, still am. It's a real legit kind of addiction. And I'd had enough. I was working for social services. I'd bought a ridiculously expensive pair of shoes and woke up one night in a cold sweat, just sort of like, I'm 41. This is crazy. I've got to sort this out. I can't keep doing this and running myself into debt, and my husband of time in debt. And so I made a decision to stop shopping. And I did it from that day. I started a blog the next day, started taking pictures of my outfit every day. I remember Oscar was about 7 and took my picture. Part of the morning routine was, you know, breakfast, pack lunch, Oscar take my picture, poor child. And then but when that year finished, while I did address my shopping habits and it did change the way I shopped and I understood more about why I was doing it, what really was the most, you know, the feeling that I had most coming out of that was a confidence that I'd never had before. At 41, I was like, oh, what's that feeling? And I realized that at that point, that if I could give up shopping for a year, if I could do that, I could do anything I wanted if I just made my mind up. And then I was a bit annoyed that it'd taken me to 41 to realize this. And then I still didn't really realize what that was. I was like, right, now I just need to decide what I want to do, and then I'll be great at it. And then spent another few years trying to figure out what that was. But then we moved to America, and that was all of the things. It was terrifying and exciting and agonizing, leaving family and friends, and a really nice life that we had in Brighton. It felt incredibly selfish at the time. To move Oscar, who was 10 and loved his little Hove Park Colts. And, you know, we had a great life, you know, great camps with the community fest was great. But I think that was probably the best thing we ever did. I mean, you know, I'd hope Guy will look back on it about my husband now, because so much has happened for us here. We've had very different journeys since we came here. You know, we arrived, Guy threw himself into the new job, which was, you know, a huge job that had brought us here. So, of course, he needed to sort of, you know, we got here, I thought I was on holiday. He went to work. I was like, what's going on? You mean you've got to actually work? And I think I sort of didn't really realize that life would just, you know, there's still bills to pay. And there's still, you know, Oscar has trouble at school, or, you know, shit still happens. We're not on vacation. You just move location. But that gave me a confidence as well, of course. And then that first year, Guy was busy, you know, establishing himself in his new job, and I couldn't work. I didn't have a visa to work. I'd come as Guy's dependent, which just didn't. I was laughing about it, but it felt really strange to me at the time, and I couldn't really articulate why it was irking me so much. But I'd never felt dependent on anyone before, and to be listed as a dependent made me feel a little bit queasy. But I was lucky enough to have that year to spend, you know, I joined the PTA at school to get Oscar into the community. I was getting Oscar settled in school. And, you know, it's very different culture here, which I hadn't anticipated. So I was helping him navigate that and having play dates to make sure he needed to be where he wanted to be. And then while he was at school, I started to meet amazing women, and I started a hiking group fairly soon after arriving, and started to just meet some real badass women. And I had this luxury of this time really to really think about so many things, and really start doing some work on myself, which sounds terribly American, but you know, I had time. Hike Squad was definitely the best therapy. We'd climb a mountain every week back then, because none of us had jobs at that point. We gradually got busier over the years, but we still hike, you know, every few weeks we get together a Hike Squad. But we've ended up doing amazing things. We've walked the Grand Canyon, we've climbed volcanoes, and just, you know, just doing these crazy things. so, and Americans are really very positive and uplifting. So they sort of really, and they love my Britishness. So it was quite a good combination. But I joined the gym. One thing I did do when I gave up shopping was get into fitness. And that was the first time I ever got into fitness at 41. I'd always been active, but I basically drank wine and ate crisps and didn't eat much food. And that kept me slim. But then when I stopped the shopping, I needed to fill my time with something. So that's when I got into running and boot camps. And then when we came to America, I started CrossFit and just got physically much, much stronger. And that really helps me mentally as well. So it's a combination of all of those things.
Yeah. And did at this time when you were, so from the age of 41 to now, did you get hit badly by perimenopause, or did it creep up on you, or, and how did you manage all of that?
I mean, I don't think I really noticed the perimenopause that much. It wasn't, and because we're going back, I probably was in perimenopause when I was about 47. I don't know, I just wasn't really noticing it so much. But the hot flushes started. And then, everything just started, just suddenly it would take a little bit longer if I was trying to lose a bit of weight, if I felt like I was gaining weight all of a sudden for absolutely no reason, nothing much had changed, or my hair suddenly went thin and I was, what's happening? And obviously, skin's changing, but I kind of, at the same time, my confidence was growing. So I don't know if I just wasn't stuck in it. And I have been lucky. I mean, I know I've been really lucky. I've ridden out the hot flushes, and I found a place where I can, I just have to ride out the mood swings. I go for a walk. I live in a forest now, so I'm really lucky. So there's been ways where I feel like I've been able to manage it.
To me, it sounds like because you've got outlets such as your exercise and going for walks, going for hikes, that is like therapy, isn't it? It does help with those sort of real fluctuations in mood.
And sort of regular therapy with a therapist, really, and being able to talk about it. But also, I mean, so Instagram when I moved here, it was really pictures of mountains and, pictures of my lunch and pictures of my coffee. And that was great. And then I joined a women's group, and I went to a session, and it was being run by a woman called Tammy Kent, and you should look her up. She's known as the Vagina Whisperer, and she's got a TED Talk, and she believes as women, all our power is stored in our vaginas, which, when you think about it, makes sense. It's the source of life, right? So all our power is stored in there, but also all our trauma is stored in there. That's where all our stress goes. It's all our shame is hidden and buried in there if you don't deal with it. And for years, I'd said to people, I had I work for social services with families in crisis a lot, and people would say, how do you cope? How do you come home at night, not worry about those families? And I had an amazing system that I developed as a child when we moved a lot, whereas if I have a problem, I'd visualize putting it in a box and put a lid on the box, and then I'd put it away. And I'd say to people, it's brilliant. I just don't give people the time. I put them in a box, they shove it away, and it's absolutely fine. Well, lo and behold, when you get to sort of 45, 46, all these boxes come flying fucking open and all the lids blow off. The problems are still there. So as I've got older, what I've started to try to do is be okay with being, with things are hard. I was trying to find a place where I'm okay with it being hard, because it's the part of the journey, and just to ride it out and embrace it rather than just be beaten by it. Just go, right, okay, I know this is coming, and just sit with it and feel the feelings. And then if I allow the feelings to come rather than shove it away, I can talk myself through it, and I can solve the problem and move on. And it's sort of, I don't always solve them, but at least if I give them the acknowledgement, then I'm able to move forward. Does that make sense?
It absolutely, totally makes sense. So it's only when we feel the feels and kind of envelop ourselves in them that we can actually move through them. A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
I now go, oh, what do you feel? I'm like, I'm scared. And I'm like, right, you're doing the right thing. You're scared is right. If it's boring, it's not. It's kind of my mantra. But after I went to see the vagina whisperer, and we meditated to our vagina. So she's a vagina therapist. She has a 1 year long waiting list for people, and she basically fingers them for $1,000 and release. Is basically what happened. She didn't do that on the evening I went to see her, because I was like, this is a bit woo-woo for me. But I went anyway, because I was like, what else am I going to do on a Wednesday night? My friend needed a ride, and we meditated to our vaginas. And I cannot tell you what happened that night, but she shifted my energy. She somehow put me in touch with some of my trauma and my shame, and it allowed me to open myself up to new possibilities. I now know that's what happened. I didn't realize at the time what was happening. I just feel an energy shift in me. And I had just, the next morning, I said to Oscar, my son was watching YouTube, and I'd never really paid YouTube much mind. And so I was laughing, and I said, well, maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. Now I'm all powerful. Me and my vagina feeling very powerful after our vagina meditation. And Oscar's like, oh my God, what would you do? And I said, what would you call it? And I went, I don't know, maybe middle-aged margaritas in the menopause. He's like, oh my God, no one will watch it. It's going to be awful. And he went off to school, and I spent all day watching YouTube channels, the most ridiculous things. And when I could do this, and then I called me, who's a friend, a mutual friend of Polly and I, in Brighton, and said, I want to set up a YouTube channel. What do I do? Because me runs a business where she trains women to be more visible online and helps them, with their brand and being in their Instagram or their YouTube channel. And so she said, I've got a course starting on Monday. Why don't you do it for free? Give me a shout out on Instagram. So I went, okay. And so I spent the weekend doing a workbook, and I developed a whole business over the weekend, because at the time I was doing pop-up British tea parties, and I was like, I want to do stuff with style and get free stuff. And so I invented a styling business that weekend. And this all came from the vagina. She shifted my energy. I came up with a whole new business concept over that weekend. I started the course on the following Monday. And here I am now, 4 years later, with a Instagram business, about to go on an American tour, taking my message out there. So yeah, it's been a journey.
It sure has. So yeah, I'm going to come back to the style actually, but what I'd love to know, Lou, is that you put out so much brilliant content all the time, and I'm just wondering, are there some days where you just think, oh my God, I can't be asked, this is just too much? And what drives you? What drives you to keep going, to put the content out?
Every single person that follows me, every woman I meet in the street, everybody I have a conversation with, when I'm out shooting, I mean, it's a hoot. It's hilarious. People hooting their horns, people stop, people yelling, Luinluland, we love you, as they drive by. Like, I love it. And people are like, you're so inspirational. And I'm like, no, you lot inspire me. It's like a beautiful, women are just a great circle. I organize events, and, people go, what's happening? And I'm like, I've invited a bunch of women, haven't actually organized anything else beyond that, because women make the party and bring the party. That's what we do. We make things happen. I do quite a few podcasts and interviews, and I try not to repeat myself, but one thing I do always say is, women, the power of women together is, there's just nothing like it. But women just need permission for some reason. I don't know why we feel like we need permission the whole time for things. And that's what I try to do, because I don't know how I do it, but I seem to be able to give women permission and show them that there's other ways of doing things. I mean, you don't have to run naked down the street in a pair of Wellington boots. That's just how I choose to express myself and encourage women to do it. But I don't know, it's just showing there's other ways you can do things, be it your style, just making little changes in your life, or little changes in the way you think about things, can have such a massive impact, particularly in menopause, because it's such a huge time of the change. But it can be the best change ever if you decide that you want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because, how we feel how we dress totally reflects how we feel, right? And it is so easy just to get bogged down in all the same old clothes that you've worn for years. And it can be, from experience, it's very easy to be drab and dreary. to anyone listening, what would you say to them if they're thinking, they're looking at their wardrobe and going, oh God, I just need it needs to be zhuzhed up. What can I do? Which isn't going to cost me pounds. How can I be a bit more
I
Luinland?
mean, accessories are a really quick, easy way. Like vintage scarves are dirt cheap in the charity shop. A good accessory always works, but really just try to wear different things. Like I'm wearing pajama, but I wear these pajama bottoms as trousers, or I wear my dressing gowns as coats. Because how good is that as a coat? It's brilliant. But it was that instead of paying coat money at the charity shop, I paid like $12 in the vintage store, in the Goodwill. So there we like what I love. I've got so many good dressing gowns. I wear those, a plain white t-shirt and jeans, and you can, throw a dressing gown over it. Charity shops are just the best, and you get much more interesting things in there. Shop online a little bit too. There's some really good vintage collections on Etsy and stuff, and just get one or two really good pieces. Best thing you'll ever buy though, best pair of sunglasses, just a really good spanky pair of sunglasses, and you'll never be lonely because people talk to you all the time. It's one thing I really love about America is they're really, really amazing at saying, oh my God, I love what you're wearing. Oh my God, you look great today. Americans are really good at complimenting each other and like lifting each other up. And British people aren't so good at that. So I always try to make sure when I'm back going, I like your outfit. I like your outfit. You look good today.
You do so much within the community, within, so many different things on your Instagram. You say that kind of growing into sort of middle age with optimism and energy is something that you still feel totally passionate about, as do I. But I know that many women at this stage of their lives feel anything but optimistic and have absolutely zero energy. So what would you say to them? Have you got any tips?
People always say, where do you get your energy from? And I think part of it is what you're born with, I think. I also think the more I do, the more energy I get. So the days I lie on the sofa, I feel like crap. It just doesn't there's days where I do that. And there's days I want to do nothing more than lie in bed with the cover over my head. And there are days where I do that, a lot of that. I'm in the middle of separating from my husband, for example. And, there's days where I literally can't speak 2 words because it's sad or it's stressful or it's painful or I'm angry or there's so much to process, especially because we live in the same house. Because, that's the path we've chosen, but the path chose us really because of finances and COVID and stuff. But we've managed to turn that into something that's positive. I'm very grateful we had an amazing marriage, and we've got an amazing friendship that's still left. It's just the romantic part of our journey that's come to an end.
Oh, Liv, I'm so sorry to hear that. And, God, what a testament that you are still managing to live in the same home and do it in a way which is gentle
I think
and positive.
And we're trying to have as much grace for each other as we can. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a fucking saint. But, I hope we're doing as best a job as you can, but no, you can't. I mean, I had no idea watching other people divorce what it's like, and it is awful. And we're not even fighting. It's brutal and it's awful, and we're kind of like at peace. We're as much at peace with it as we can be.
So what do you do to protect your energy then? So as you said, you have days where you just do nothing. I mean,
do you know what? I've come to realize that silence, which is really mad because I'm like, people would just, I think people think I'm busy all the time. I'm out every night. And I am so happy to be busy all day, but come the evenings, I'm generally in bed around 9:30, and I'm on my messages, and I'm nearly always preparing content for the next day or writing a post. But I just silence, being outside really helps, being in the trees, being with my girls as well. But silence, I often find myself in the car, I see people singing along in the car. And I do have days where I do that if I need to pump myself up. But lots of the time I actually sit in silence and just really go through, work through. And it's so bad. You find it's really hard to find time to just be silent, but you get quite a lot done when you're quiet. which is really odd. And then I listened to Will Smith's book recently, and he went on a silent retreat for days. He didn't speak for days, and it changed his life. And I was like, oh, maybe there is something in the silent. But also, the fitness really helps. Like, I start my day every day with something. If I don't go to the gym, it's a hike. I'll go for a walk. We've got a really steep set of stairs nearby, and I'll call the girls and we hike the stairs. And
you're another early morning fitness person, aren't you?
If it gets to lunchtime, I've lost interest by noon. It just makes sense. It's more about how I start my day than actually. I mean, I love the work. I've also trained myself to love working out. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still days where I don't want to do it, but I know I can hold the thought. You'll feel better when you've done it. You'll feel better when you've done it. Just, that. So I have lots of things I tell myself a lot. Like, I write myself affirmations. It sounds really naff, and I feel like specifically when I'm doing a British podcast, I sound really American these days. I write myself affirmations, journaling. I mean, all these things that you see are really helpful. Writing things down. I mean, I do it all on Instagram. So I don't just write it in a journal. I write it out loud and I share that. And that's most people's worst nightmare. But for me, I find it really helpful and empowering. Like I said before, people always say, oh, you're so inspiring and you empower us. And I'm like, no, but you empower me to empower you. And then so I feel like I'm on a journey with all 45,000. And I have no formula really. I mean, I do have a bit of a formula now because I've actually found a way of turning it into a big, so no, I don't want to make it sound like I'm turning it into a business, but woman's got to pay, I got to pay bills. I've got I still have to live. It's quite hard. It's a hard decision to choose to make your money like living out loud and sharing everything, because people, you put yourself out there for risk of judgment, or people make assumptions all the time. Oh, you must have had a really easy life, or nothing's ever happened to you, it's all right for you, you've got this, you've got that, and of course I'm aware I am, extraordinarily privileged position where I am, but I try to keep it as real as possible.
And how do you cope with that? Because you're always going to get those people, aren't they, who kind of who judge you.
Do you know what the funniest thing is? I don't get too much some days it hits really hard, and it can be the silliest thing. Really, one of my most regretful errors on Instagram was I posted a picture of me, and a woman had commented, oh, you look really skinny, you could do with eating a burger, and it just triggered something in me. And so I was like, how dare she sit in judgment on me, whether I'm too skinny or too fat. And at the time I was going through a really hard patch with the separation, and I wasn't eating enough, and I was really stressed out, and it just triggered all of that in me. And so I posted the next day, don't make comments like this on each, about women, this is what we do to each other. Stop it. It's not your position to say whether I'm too skinny or too fat. Why are you sitting in judgment on my weight? And I did it in anger and frustration, and it was, of course, what people did then was go back to the post and see who had written the comment. And I hadn't deleted the comment. And so then all these women started attacking this woman, and it felt like the gladiators. It was awful. She ended up having to do a post saying, can you please stop attacking me? I was just kidding. I worried about her. Like, we've ended up becoming really good friends, because I had to message her and just say, I am so sorry. That was not what I intended to do. My Luinlandians are like really fiercely loyal to me, but what all these amazing women were doing, trying to support me, they then dragged this poor woman through the mill, and I felt awful. I felt absolutely dreadful. So sometimes we all get it a bit wrong, and I would never do that again. So I've learned to stop. I try not to post angrily. That's the only thing I try to avoid doing. But sometimes the world gets the better of.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's not always going to be easy, is it? And actually, I really like your honesty when you admit that actually stuff is hard sometimes.
And it's really hard.
And particularly actually today, you wrote a post which I really resonated with, is, how do you, I think you said something like, how do you level out feeling confident and proud, really proud of your successes versus the feeling like you're showing off and that, you don't deserve it. And that's when the resistance turns up, doesn't it? How do you get rid of that? It's the resistance which can sometimes really hold us back from doing the things which really is what you're meant to be doing, your passion and your purpose.
Yeah. And it's still scary. So I have, instead of just leaving, instead of going, well, we came to America, Oscar was 10, our marriage was great, Guy's career was soaring, we were in a great spot, and now 7.5, 8 years later, I'm gonna just get on a plane, divorcing and and separated and sad. I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm in America, but it's time for me to go home. So I saw a vintage RV on the side of the road, and I'd been out for a hike with a friend, and we saw it on the side. It was an old Greyhound bus that had been done up as a camper. And I said to her at the time, it was another rough patch living in the house. I said, maybe I'll just buy it and I can live in it if things carry on like this with Guy. I don't think I can last till the summer. I went home that night, and it wasn't quite the right bus, but the idea was, I was like, I bought the bus. What could I do with the bus? And then that night I'd had a joint, because we legal in Oregon, which, let's just talk about the fact that I'm going to miss that. And I'd had about 3 gin and tonics, and there was a huge storm. The boys were away somewhere. I was on my own. There was a massive storm, and a huge tree fell in the forest, and it clipped the house, and the house shook. And luckily it missed me. There was a bit of a hole in the roof, but that was it. If it had hit me, I'd have died. And because I was stoned and a little bit drunk, I was like, it's a sign, I should buy the bus. And I became obsessed with the idea of the bus. And I was like, I cannot sit here and just wait for Oscar to leave home. And, I've got to do something. I'm feeling more and more energized by what I'm doing. And I know I'm doing the right thing. More and more women are coming. More and more women are opening up to me and talking. The more conversations I have, the more it sparks it. I'm gonna buy the bus. I'm gonna buy a bus. So I found a bloody bus. The following week, I found Susie down in Arizona online. Someone gave me a tip off. I was like, I need a bus. I said in my Instagram, I was like, I haven't got the money, but you have to wait for me. Give me a month. Let me try and raise the money. And so I started selling seats on the bus, and I crowdfunded buying her. I'm like, I'm on this mission. This is what I want to do. I want to take around America. I want to do events. I just want to get people talking. And people paid, like, everybody bought a seat for $1,000. So I got a one-way ticket to Arizona and went and picked her up on the day after Christmas Day. I got out of the Uber in this like dusty desert in Arizona, took one look at her and just burst into tears. I sank to my knees and just was like, what have I done now? Like, what ludicrous freaking thing have I done now? But I am so happy. She's amazing. I feel like such a badass driving.
And you drove her all the way back immediately. I mean, that itself must have been so terrifying, but you did it. It just goes to show what you can do, what we are capable of when we put our mind to something.
Right. So I arrived, and then I spent the afternoon with the guy, and he kind of showed me where everything was. And then I went to the local supermarket and got some bits and bobs. And I had a little drive, and I was really scared. And I was like, right, okay. I planned to leave the next morning, and I could stay in it where it was. So I said to him, how do you feel if I just stayed another night? So could I stay tomorrow night as well? And then tomorrow I could have another couple of practice drives. And he went, yeah, sure. Anyway, that night I made a video off of Instagram because I hadn't told anybody I was doing it. And I just sort of posted a mysterious picture from the airport because I didn't really know what I was going to say. And I was like, what? I've just invented this. I'm going to do an American tour. What if no one gives a shit? What am I thinking? Who am I to think that anyone's even going to want to come to an event or meet me? It's like, I feel like an imposter. Like, am I really being big-headed that people really would want to come? And it just felt really weird. Anyway, I did a video crying my eyes out, going, I've done a thing. I bought a bus and I've had this idea, and I know I've done it. Anyway, I went to sleep, floods of tears, woke up the next morning. I was like, right, I'm just gonna have a little drive and it'll all be all right. And I opened my phone, and it was bursting with messages. I had messages from Davina McCall. I had messages from all around the world going, oh my fucking God, yes, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And I read them all and I was like, you know what, you can, you're here now, you've done it, you've just got to go. So I started her up, and the guy came along. He had a couple of bits and bobs I needed him to do on it. And I went, right, I'm off. And he went, I thought you were going to have another practice drive. And I went, no, I'm just going to go. I think the best thing I can do is just get going. Otherwise, I'm going to worry about it. So I'm just going to do it. So he went, okay. And then he just stood there going, I then, thanks for the $30,000. Good luck. And I literally drove out there. And I had planned to do it by myself. My friends had all been like, can we come? Can we come? I'll come. People were like, I could probably come if you want me to. And I'm like, do you know what? I have to do this by myself. I have been with a boyfriend since I was 11 years old. And this is my bus. And I just need to do this by myself. So I got to Palm Springs and my friend was there, and she went, shall I come with you? And I was like, please come with me, because it's really scary by yourself. I'm so glad she did. But it's the first thing I've been responsible for by myself for as long as I can remember. And it's so empowering and so scary. Sorry, I didn't mean to cry.
And just but it's such an amazing example, Lou, of just when we put ourselves in those positions of just not knowing if we can do it or not do it, and you just did it, and it just goes to, I mean, well done, bloody well done. Yeah. I mean, and now you're going to be taking her on this amazing tour, which must feel totally bloody terrifying, but at the same time, it's going to just do amazing things.
It is terrifying. But the most exciting thing is, so I decided to fund the tour, because I don't know if you noticed, the gas prices are like, now is not the time to have a vintage RV that does like 10 miles to the gallon. I mean, honestly, but I decided to get some sponsors and partners to work with, more to help me fund the tour, but also, you know, it helps me get my message out further. But I've really struggled as life as an influencer, trying to sort of, you know, sell products is just not my happy place. Like I enjoy partnering with small businesses, usually women owned, and doing collabs with them. So we create stuff together and then we share the profit, and it's much, I really enjoyed doing that. I bought out the merch line, which is brilliant, and that's been so successful. So I'm kind of learning on the hoof, but I know that I just don't want to, I don't want to be an Instagram going, buy this. I only will ever sell or take a brand on if I believe in it, because otherwise it doesn't sit right, and I don't like it. And I've tried it, and the reels that I've done are just shit, because they're just not me, and I can't. I hate being told what I have to do. And I just started reaching out to people and asking if they wanted to do stuff together, and they really loved being asked, and it's really nice. So then for the tour, obviously I want to get a bit bigger. I want to use bigger brands, because this is a good opportunity for a brand as well. Hopefully follow me on this tour. I'm going to go 5,000 miles. I'm going to go through 18 states. So I sat down and I'm like, right, what do I need for the tour? Like, let's just start with that. What do I want? What am I promoting on the tour? So I approached Fun Factory, who are a vibrator brand, and they've come on board, and now I'm bringing out my own vibrator.
Oh my gosh, amazing. How do you go about bringing out your own vibrator? Wow.
Wow. Are you and Luinluland? I mean, how have I only just come up with Luinluland? I mean, it's been waiting to happen. So that's exciting. And then they're going to come to all the events that I'm going to hold, and they're going to do sex workshops. They've got some amazing sex experts. They have some really fun games to help women and couples think about their sexuality, think about themselves. And it's scary for a lot of people. Lots of people don't talk about it out loud. Lots of people don't even talk about their sex or have conversations about sexuality with themselves or their partners. And so I've done it with Oscar in parenting as well. I'm just all for having the fucking conversation, because if you don't talk about things, you make it normal.
It's so true. It's always the best way. And particularly women in midlife, sex can become such an issue because it becomes uncomfortable. They're not, and when you bottle it up and don't tell anybody, then it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And then relationships start to fall apart. And yeah, the consequences are really, really tragic.
Really tragic. And like, if you lose, everything comes down to communication at the end of the day, and hearing each other, and in relationships and in families and in friendships, in midlife. But I think you get a pause in midlife. The kids just reach a certain age and they start they don't even haven't even left, but when you're starting to prepare for them leaving, or starting to think, well, in 2 years all the kids will be gone, what am I going to do then? When you look around and you look at your husband and you're like, oh my God, it's just going to be the two of us, seriously? Or you might look at your husband and go, oh my God, it's just going to be the two of us. How exciting. What could we achieve? What can we, oh my God, think we don't need a babysitter anymore. My periods have stopped. Let's go. Like, there's two ways of going about everything, right? So I think you've got to be realistic. The menopause is a massive change. It is a massive change, and there are really shitty bits of it. Honestly, the hot flushes, I just find them really funny. I burst out laughing. I mean, to start with, a bit distressing. My hair goes like you can tell when I've had one because my hair just goes, it just goes curly. I've been in the middle of recording Get Dressed With Me and had a hot flush. And I had to stop the camera stop the camera. And then I just recorded myself having a hot flush, go, well, this is great. And let everybody just watch me. I just find them funny. But my top tip for night flashes, if you have one in the night, and this is the beauty of having your own room, or get your husband involved, if you have a wank, you go straight back to sleep again. Well, it's the last thing you feel like do. Get your husband involved. It's also quite handy. There you go. It really helps. You drift right back off again.
Perfect. My God, perfect. In the wet, sweaty, soggy sheets.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, just roll into it and make the best out of a bad job, I say. And that, that's another thing that's really, I know it sounds ludicrous. I did an interview recently down in LA, and the whole headline was, wanking's changed my life. But it has in quite a lot of ways, because it's, separation and becoming a vibrator advocate. I get sent so many vibrators that I get paid for trying vibrators. I mean, how have I managed to turn this into my life, Polly? I'm a genius. I'm an absolute genius. Selling vibrators and making everybody happy. It's next level, look. Like, I always love throwing a party, but bringing out a vibrator, I'm like, feel like I'm going to be having threesomes with everybody.
Oh my God. And how does Oscar feel about it?
Do you know what? Oscar's so proud of me. He's so proud of me.
Oh, bless him.
I think there was many, many wilderness years where he was mortified. But now he's a little bit older, and everybody at school knows me, obviously, from PTA stuff to coaching them. I coached at school for a long time, track and field and stuff. So I know loads of the kids, and I'm the ambassador for joy. So I'm always in there doing stuff. And lots of the girls follow me, and are super into Luinluland. And I think it was last year, I was in the hallway, and I was wheeling a bunch of clothes down the hall for something, and I heard someone go, who's that? Like, because I obviously look like quite a scene, wheeling all these outfits down on a rail. And I heard Oscar span around and went, that is my mum.
Oh, you're like, yes.
And I will hold that memory for the rest of my life. I tell you, I was like, oh, bless him. But no, he's always telling me how proud he is of me. Which
so
is
good.
I mean, it's difficult. He's going to graduate from high school. His mum's going to leave on a bus. So for him, it's a big time of change.
Let's just talk a little bit about community, because community and you go hand in hand.
Oh, thank you. I love that.
I think the first time we met was I'm pretty sure it was at a clothes swap you organised at our kids' primary school. And then and that was sort of for the members of the community. You then organised the St Answell's Garden Festival, which is our local park. We had amazing charity events organised by you. We had the incredible fashion show in the local church, which I was in. Felix, my son Felix, was in.
You were.
And then, there were so many things. There was camping weekends with silent discos, and all of these events, and I know you've done so many in Portland now, but all of these events, what just was so special about them is that they weren't just for a select few. They were open to the community and included everybody. And I just think that is just such a special gift to have, to bring people together in a really, really fun way. So I'm just really interested, what's important to you about community?
I mean, I grew up in the church with dad being a vicar, so that, you know, I love that. That was a very unique community, obviously. So I think I've always just been surrounded by that. But we're just so much always better together, I think, you know, like just sharing. And the one that, I mean, I Instagram's the devil in the deep blue sea, isn't it? And social media. I mean, it can be used it can be used however you choose, or you can take from it whatever you choose. But I think what it's done is just open a conversation, like women talking to each other like we never have before. And we're able to connect with each other. And it's, you know, people go, "You don't get real connections online." I absolutely disagree. I have so many. If you are real, you will find real connections with people, and that's what it's all about. It's just bringing people together. And you know, I'm having a panic attack. I'm doing one of my first big events outside Portland. I mean, even this week, I threw my first proper bus party last week in Portland. So you know that fear you have when you have a birthday party. I mean, I still traumatized from not being picked for a team in PE. Like, I was always the last person to be picked. So if there's a team, if we're at the gym, we have to pick teams. I leave. I won't stay in case I don't get picked. I'm literally traumatized by it. So, and you know, Oscar's always like, "Oh wait, I didn't get invited, or I got left out." And I said, "Well, I organise the party, so then I make sure I'm at the party. I run the party." But then, you know, you have that fear no one will come. And then last week was the first time I've ever charged tickets to come to a party. And I was like, "Well, if no one buys a ticket," we sold out and we had to line around the block. So I'm like, okay, keep going. So next is an event in LA, at a hotel. And it's going to be the most amazing weekend. We've got an amazing panel of speakers coming. There's going to be yoga, burlesque, cocktail making, beach party, roller skating in Venice. It's going to be such a good party.
It sounds so fun. We're designed though, aren't we? As you know, it's evolution. As all those years ago, we'd sit around a campfire and we'd share, and it was part of our survival, just sort of being together. We're designed to survive and thrive and be
And the
connected
best
to
thing
one
is,
another.
we're all different. That's the best thing. And I've even come to, I got to tell you, when you emailed me and said, "Would you come on the podcast?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." And you sent me your number. I still had you saved in my phone as Polly, the school governor. And I talk about becoming a school governor quite a bit, because it was one of the best things I think I ever did. I'd never done anything quite that sort of formal before, and I'd sit in the meetings and look around. For those of you who don't know, a school governing board is made up of many different people, some from the community, politicians, teachers, headmaster, and Polly and you were the parent governor as well. We are voted on by the parents. And so it's a real mixture of people that you would probably never normally sit around a table with. And I'd sit in the meetings going, "Fucking hell, you're so boring." Or but I learned, because you have to listen to opinions that you completely disagree with. But because it was such a formal boardroom kind of setting that I wasn't sort of so used to, I learned to really appreciate other people's views. Be like, "God damn, I just don't understand how you think like that." But it's also really fascinating that you're so entrenched in what you believe. I find it fascinating because I was so entrenched in the way that I thought, and it really helped me learn to appreciate different opinions and be able to value them without necessarily agreeing with them. And it really helped me open up to thinking about things in different ways. And I really put that down to the school governors, which is crazy.
Yeah, my goodness, I learned a lot as well.
So it's really interesting to hear how people think, even if I don't agree with it, because then I can talk about it. And, you know, if you think like that, maybe open your mind up a little bit to some other possibilities. Because you don't know what other people are thinking. You get a feel for what your community feels and how they feel about things. So you know what they'll appreciate, or what they'll take something from. But it's usually the people who you disagree or fight you learn the most from, right? And it's like the hardest bits in life are the parts of life that will move you forward. So that's why, you know, when the menopause is called the change, it's an opportunity to change. It's all about in your mind. It's your mindset.
It's all about mindset. And it's all about, I kind of think it's kind of an opportunity to really listen to your body, do what it's crying out for. And it wants to move, it wants to be nourished, it wants to be looked after. But equally at the same time, it's all about mindset. It is what you make it. And if you're feeling negative about it, then you're going to have a really miserable time. But actually, you're a great example that shows us that, once you shift your mindset and you do the things which light you up, and with you can really see that your sense of purpose in terms of empowering others is such a key driver, which keeps you young and keeps you vibrant.
Well, I think now I've found my path. I approached the vibrator sponsor. Would you want to chip in a few quid for some fuel? I'm come out with a vibrator deal and a lube deal, and I'm like, well, obviously that then gives me confidence. So now I've got a gin sponsor, and now I've got into Luinluland CBD gummies. Thanks very much. Each thing gives you a little bit of confidence, but it's all step by step by step by step by step. And I think the change for women is that a period stop, which for a lot of women is very stressful and upsetting if they've if they wanted more children, if they have not been able to have, there's so much wrapped up with our periods and all of those sorts of things. When that ends, it can be quite a grieving process for a lot of women. And you can grieve the loss of your purpose, as it were, if I found motherhood not to be what I had thought it was, and didn't enjoy it, which is why Oscar's an only child. Well, I didn't enjoy pregnancy and my childbirth in the first years. I have loved motherhood, but that first couple of years was incredibly stressful for me. There's no way I could take any of us back to postnatal depression. But menopause and the end of your periods means your life starts to be a little bit more about you again, your body. You can reclaim your body for yourself, which I think is why I love feel so strong. That strength gives me a mental strength as well. And you're like, okay, the kids are gone. This is great. We used to have to pay for a babysitter. I've got no periods. Let's go. And your vagina gets dry. There's lube for that. It's all about it's like parenting. It's like being realistic about what's going to happen and dealing with it. And that's what women do the best. So it's wicked. We're just like, right, it can be about us now. Yes, bring it on.
Love it. I totally love it, Lou. Love it. To finish, this is called the Positive Perimenopause Podcast. I want everybody to be able to take away some sort of actionable, practical takeaway, I suppose, to help them have a positive perimenopause and kind of going forward. What would be your top tip for them?
I would say move every day. Move physically, move yourself every day, clear your head, try and give yourself 5 minutes silence. I know that probably sounds, even if it's just before you go to sleep, or try and do some exercise daily, swim in the sea, walk around the block, force yourself to move every single day, even when you don't want to, particularly when you don't want to. And while you are doing that, just some days I write a list of all the good things that have happened. So even if it is stupid things like, I don't know, I like the workout, that's an easy one, but it could be I had a nice message from someone. I screenshot lots of my really nice messages and I put them all in a file. If I'm feeling miserable, I go, right, okay, all right, okay, I can do this. And that really helps. Just keep reminding yourself while you're doing your exercise or you're moving your body, just run through the people you love, run through the good things that have happened that day. Just make tiny changes, start to appreciate things. And then the next time you go for a walk, you'll start looking for the things that you appreciate, the bird in the tree or the sun in the sky, and just give that a minute and appreciate it. And just learn to go with the journey of it, even the bad bits. Try and know that day will pass, or that bad patch will pass, and you will come out of it and it will get better, and just keep going. Try not to be afraid.
Such good advice, Lou. I totally agree with all of that. Thank you for your time. I am so appreciative of it. It's been so lovely to chat. If anyone's not following you, they bloody should. So where can they find you, Lou?
Luinluland on Instagram, and I've got a website you can subscribe to, which admittedly I've done absolutely nothing with, but that's about to change because I'm going to start doing my journals for the journey online. Will be on there. My travel journal will be on the website. So yeah, you'll find me somewhere, I'm sure. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited for your podcast. Good luck with it all.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I'm doing it too. I'm doing it messy. I'm just getting out of my comfort zone and trying something
Good
new.
girl.
So yes. So thank you, Lou. It's been brilliant. And see you when you're back in the UK.
Won't be long, darling. See you soon.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And yeah, I really appreciate you sticking around to the end. Just to recap, you can catch Lou at Luinluland or go to www.luinluland.com. And I would love to hear any of your thoughts or takeaways about this episode. You can email me at info@pollywarren.com, or you can come over to my Instagram at pollywarrencoaching and jump into my DMs. I always love to hear your thoughts and reflections. And that is it. I really look forward to seeing you next week. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to rate, subscribe and review. It really does help get this podcast out there. Have a wonderful week.